My name is Lance Hoch. I work with a consulting group called Greenwood. And clearly, there's been an awful lot of technology development in generation that can be at the customer site or anywhere in the distribution network rather than just way up in the high voltage network. There's been a lot of development in communications and controls, and probably most recently the platforms that we've been talking about. But I don't want to talk about those. I'm going to actually talk about what Perry had listed as the first obstacle, which is regulation. And in particular, I want to speak a little bit about pricing regulation. And I'm not going to talk too much about prices that we all pay, though I will touch on that a little bit. But I will talk about prices that might be available to people who have generation, flexible loads, or any kinds of services that they can produce that creates value in the upstream part of the value chain. So one of the ways that we've gotten to where we are today with having all of this rooftop PV is the fact that we had flat prices and they were going up. So the very best thing that you could do as a consumer, particularly with incentives, was to buy away a CapEx, OpEx trade-off. Spend some CapEx, which you were getting an incentive against, and put that up against an OpEx, your energy bill, which you had no control over in terms of the price. Okay, so it's a very smart thing to do, and it continues to be a smart thing to do. And it's a smart thing to do because the pricing is not very smart. And there's going to be a session on that in November, led by Ahmad Faruqi, who Perry and I both have known for a long time, and you should come to that because he's very, very knowledgeable. But that flat price has led to lots of rooftop PV. It's led to essentially an oversupply of PV generation and a non-optimal location of the PV. So there's too much some places, there's too little other places. It doesn't get controlled when it runs, and that's mostly been a storage issue. The whole thing with flat prices was a technology problem because we didn't have smart meters until relatively recently. The sad thing is that once we got smart meters, nobody used them for pricing, not even to big guys, let alone little guys. And some governments made that illegal to do that. So now we've got a situation where we've got a lot of PV and the network can't always handle it. So people have put PV on their roof and the network says you can't export. So there's actually been throttling back of export capability, right? So people have bought something, okay, it's offsetting their load, but they can't export. So there's a level of money they can't earn. That leads to a certain amount of disaffection, I would think. I don't have PV yet, so I'm not sure. But even I have given in to the lure of Daniel Andrews' ability to give me money to put PV on my roof. Okay, so if I can get that all done before they run out of rebates, I'll get back into your good graces for having PV. Now, the other thing that happens is that there's this throttling, which people don't like, but the only way out of the throttling is to spend a lot of money in network land to allow lots of export and to allow stuff that comes in at 415 to flow up to 11 kV and possibly up to 33 kV. That all takes money. Okay, and then the question is, who should pay for that? So South Australia Power Networks, SA Power Networks, has just done some work in consumer engagement looking at how much are people willing to pay for different levels of ability to export. Wow. Okay. Still a lot to do. But so what do we do about all of this PV in particular? And it seems to me there was a couple things that came up about how do we get that in, who does what, are consumers going to be able to deal with this? I don't think consumers need to be able to do with this. What you need to do is give prices for services, and then somebody will come along and figure out, I can sell that service to somebody, and I can do it in a way that the consumer doesn't have to take too much notice of. So I've got 3 examples of that for you. One is a company called Accuo, but I think Watches is in the same space, where they will actually come in and control your end-use devices against your tariff. Now, if your tariff is flat, there's nothing to control. It's just turn stuff off. right? But if your tariffs are time differentiated, demand differentiated, there's a lot more signal to work with. There's a business proposition. Reposit Power does the same thing with PV and battery, and Watt Watchers may be doing that as well. I'm not sure, but you need the price signal, right? So if we give prices for services, not prices that we charge consumers, prices that the various parties will pay for a service that a consumer provides with their flexible load or their generation, then you have a business opportunity for somebody to come in and make it simple for those consumers. Now, since I'm almost out of time, the only thing I'll say is that we're just about to start a project that's funded by ARENA, which is to say by all of you, to come up with how you would figure out those values. And then you can start to use the platforms as a way to sell those to different places, but you still have the issue of optimization. And the reason that gets difficult is because you have to optimize at a couple of levels. So you've got your local area of the network, and then you've got really sort of a voltage level within a network, and then you really get to the bigger market. So there's several levels of optimization that have to go on, and there's a big project that's being run by ENA and who's the other party? AMO. Sorry about that one. They're doing the Open Energy Networks project, and that's really looking at that optimization. And the prices are a way to get to optimization. I'll leave it there.